Welcome to the Network Marketing Coffee Hour. I'm your host, Alice Abba, wife, mother of three, full-time traveler, coffee lover, and modern network marketing mentor. I'm on a mission to empower you to grow a six-figure mindset and business, starting right here, with candid conversations about what really goes on behind the scenes, how to master your mindset, grow ethically and authentically, and use modern strategies to market and multiply your network marketing business. So if you want to run the world, earn more, and lead yourself and your downline to your next level of growth, you're in the right place. Let's do this. Hello. Well, welcoming you in, my love. Where is your lovely face?
Hold on, it's coming. Hey!
Yay! Hello!
Hi! So
hey,
nice
beautiful.
to talk to you.
As you know, and as I reached out to you, I've refreshed and rebranded my podcast to the Network Marketing Coffee Hour, and really zoning in on that message of how to show up ethically, in a modern way, and authentically. And you were one of the first people that kind of popped into my mind that represented those three things. And so I think there's so much that I want to chat with you about, but can we start with just your story and you sharing with me, like what brought you into this world of network marketing, and maybe primed you to be open for that, what that looked like for you. I'd love to hear your story.
Yeah, for sure. I will start off by saying, and I think this is probably not an uncommon story, but I never would have thought that I would be doing network marketing, like in a million years. And even so, my first kind of exposure to doTERRA oils was when I first had my daughter. She's just turned 5. And my beautiful upline, Alice Nichols, sent me some oils just as like, hey, you've had a baby, you know, love these. And I loved them, but I was very much like, I'm not signing up for an account. I don't know. Like I knew a lot of people that did doTERRA at that stage, because I had, one of my previous jobs was, I guess, very connected to like the wellness blogger world. And that was a path that a lot of people went down at that time. But I didn't want an account. I was buying them retail. Like I was not doing it. And I pretty much ghosted Alice for a solid year. Like I was there in the background, but I was paying attention, you know. I was reading all of her emails. Like she never would have replied to any of them. Like I was watching all of her Instagram posts, and I just, you know, I was always paying attention in the background. And then we kind of had an experience with my daughter, who she kind of started to have some tummy issues, and there was just nothing that was helping us. And, you know, as a first-time mom, I think as a mom of any stage, when something's going on with your little one and you can't help them, there's no worse feeling in the world, just that helplessness and wanting to support them. So anyway, I kind of came across Digest Zen, and we had this experience that I think it always sounds so dramatic when you're like, oh my God, and it changed my life. But but it did. And so from then, that was kind of like when the switch flicked for me, and I was like, okay, these are awesome. A few months after that, I was at a point, my daughter was about 13, 14 months. And, you know, I had gone from working, I'd always been a very career-minded person. Like I've always loved working. I've loved immersing myself in my jobs, whatever they may be. And so becoming a stay-at-home mom, while, don't get me wrong, I loved it and it was fulfilling, but I was at a point where it was like I had lost my identity outside of motherhood. And I was really struggling with that. And I knew for me, like going back to my corporate jobs wasn't an option. I just, you know, my job prior to having my baby, I worked in a law firm. I was a social media marketer there. And I wasn't going back to that. And so I was kind of really open to finding something that I could do that was my own. And so that kind of it was just that perfect storm almost of like falling so in love with the oils and naturally wanting to tell people, you know, if I was down at the park with my mum friends or, you know, whatever, I would be saying, oh, you know, you got to try this. Or and then also because I was following Alice so closely, like recognizing that there was a real opportunity within this, and knowing what was possible, and you know, having that passion that I had had for many years with natural wellness, it just seemed to me like this is something I could do. So literally after a year of ghosting her, I kind of reached out and was like, hey, want to grab that Nature Solutions kit, and I'm going to do this as a business as well. So and I think like having that experience for me, it's always something that I've carried into my business as well. Like I don't expect people, you know, I really like to honor people where they're at in their own journey. And so, you know, not now is something that I'm always so supportive of. And one of the reasons that, you know, I've always been so consistent in showing up for my business, especially in the online space, is because you don't know who's watching. And you don't know when that touch is going to be where they say, okay, this is the moment that I'm ready. And so that's been, I guess, like a really important lesson for me in my business too.
It's interesting because I think so much of that is also how we show up as leaders and allow the spaciousness instead of the pressure for that person to have their own choice and journey, which it sounds like you were able to do that and not feel pressured from Alice to dive in. And honestly, I have been that person at times, not always, but I've been the pressured person, and part of this like reforming of Alice Abba not that it was something that I was consistently doing, but I felt myself at times thinking, no, this is the bad rap that network marketing gets, because when we pressure our customers or we pressure people into purchasing or doing the business before they want to, that's the unethical approach. But also you might have found this, I don't know if you have, but I definitely have in my experience. You bring people in who are excited for the rah, 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 but they don't actually have the connection to the genuine experience with the product or the reason that they're there to begin with. And so they don't last anyway as in the business. And so it's not ethical, but it also it just doesn't work for either party. It doesn't serve either party to be leading in that way. And so I love that was your entry in of really having the spaciousness to explore the product and love it, and then kind of naturally going into it. I sort of avoid the word organically, because I also think that's not necessarily how it works. You don't organically just like roll over one day and then become an amazing diamond leader who shows up incredibly on social media. I think, you know, you have been very intentional in that approach. But
like one of the reasons that I really held off for so long is because for me, there was a huge stigma with network marketing. And I'd kind of, almost embarrassingly, in my early stages of motherhood, was like semi wannabe mummy blogger, like, you know, Instagram mum, but not in a good way. And like not in a bad way, but just like it wasn't me. But through that experience, I had a lot of times where I would get those really yuck messages in my DMs, like hey girl, I've got an opportunity for you, like things like that. And so when I got to the point where I was like, oh, I want to do this, it was a decision that I made, and I feel like it's a decision that every single one of us gets to make, where I said, regardless of what the industry's reputation might be, when I start my business, I get to choose what kind of business owner I am, and I get to choose what kind of person I am. And my biggest vow was like, I never wanted to be the person that people see on the street and they go, oh shit, Connie's going to try and sell me oils, and they like try and hide from me. And like, if I can never be that person, I just feel incredibly satisfied. Like my mission,
Yeah.
you know, so that's kind of the energy that I've really tried to carry into my business. And, you know, so much of what you were saying before, like I feel like it can be, especially in the early stages, hard to find that balance of, you know, the hustle and the rah-rah when you're trying to reach big goals, but still approach your business in a really authentic way that's actually based on connection and service, not how many oils can I sell today.
It's so interesting. There seems like a lot of parallels between our stories and how you started with your network marketing business, but also that feeling of not wanting to, of differentiating the industry from how you wanted to show up, because the very first thing, it might not have been the very first conversation that we had, but it was the very first memory of the conversation that I had with my husband. I remember I was really heavily pregnant with my second daughter, and I was sort of bringing him this thing, knowing that it had weirdness possibly attached to it for both of us. And so I was almost like offering him this on a plate, like, well, I'm going to do this. Not that I needed his permission or anything like that, but more so thinking, we're a partnership, and let's have a conversation about what I want to do, seeing as though we're going to have a very rapidly changing family and me start a business. And he was going into starting his own private practice at the same time. Oh, so wow. there was a lot. So it was this conversation, and he first said, I just don't like network marketing. Like, you're going to lose all of our friends. You're going to do this. And he wasn't saying you will necessarily, but he was speaking into what he thought to be true. And honestly, what does happen, as we know, with different people who show up in that way. But I remember so vividly saying to him that exact same sentiment that you felt, of the industry can be a certain way, but it's not actually the industry itself. It's the people who show up who decide to be out of integrity, who decide to do the hey girl messages and just send a link without actually creating a relationship and building a community. And I knew that I didn't want to be that. But at the same time, I have felt in the last 6 years where I have veered into that territory at times where I felt pressured to achieve a goal, or I felt there was a pressure in order to create something quickly. And so it's been a really interesting reflection for me to always come back to that, and to know I always feel the best, and I always know that I'm showing up for my community and my team and my business and also my family when I'm not in that weird, icky, really inauthentic energy. And so I'm such a big believer in this is the way forward. And also knowing that we can't change everyone in the industry as well. And that's not what I'm about either. I think it's just having a conversation to say you can do things differently. So one thing that has come up before for me in conversations with people, I want to know whether this has ever been something that has kind of dropped into your mind, but on this exact same topic, I've had people say, but I don't want to be in the category of like those other people who send hey girl messages, and I don't, they're still lumping themselves in, and they really have a hard time feeling as a part of this identity as network marketing when they feel like they are so different. And so knowing that that is how you wanted to show up really authentically and not in this kind of spammy hustle kind of way, how did you reconcile that those could be two different things and remain sort of in your own lane?
I think the first thing is, coming from a space of, where I was at in my life and wanting to create something of my own, it was being able to take ownership of that and knowing that I get to create my own path with that. I'm creating my business, and my business doesn't have to look like anyone else's. And I often say this to my team, even, I can show you all of the things that I do, but your business does not have to look anything like mine. And you get to make those choices. You get to create what is yours and what is true to you. I think the second thing would be, I was really fortunate, and I think a lot of us here are, but when I look at who my two direct uplines are, I was already part of a community that had a really beautiful culture. And that's something that I think I see widespread across our company, especially. It's just everything is really service based, and I love that. But then also coming from a little bit of a marketing background, so I know that I hear people say sometimes, oh, the market's saturated. That
Yeah.
has never, from day one, never been my mindset at all. And it never will be. Like there is no part of me that subscribes to that idea. But being very fond and present on social media, and then connected to people in the wellness world, I also knew that there was no shortage of people, especially in the online space, that were selling the exact same product as me, the exact same product. And so I knew from the start, and it was, it wasn't something that I was able to put into practice at the start because I was new and unsure of myself and had all of the fears, but I knew that the way to be successful was to differentiate myself in the market. And so making sure that the brand that I created reflected me, and who I am, and it didn't have to look like anyone else. And the more that I could show up as myself, and the more that I could stand out as being different in my own ways, I was going to attract the people to my business that were meant for me. I was going to attract my community. So
Yes.
I kind of always, like from the start, those have been really like embedded in my mindset. And so once I decided I really wanted to do it, it wasn't like, I knew that I could separate myself from everyone else easily because I knew who I was and how I wanted to do things. The biggest, probably scariest thing for me was just the fear of judgment from other people. I would love to say, I don't care what people think of me.
Yes.
But I totally if I don't want to hear people thinking bad things about me, that will hurt my feelings. So I was really, really worried about what people would think. And it was funny because I don't think that I have ever really been met in 4 years with negativity towards my business or my business model. Even the people in my life who I thought would be really judgy about it have honestly been nothing but supportive and been my biggest cheerleaders. And I think that a lot of that is a testament to the way that I've conducted my business, because I vowed to never be the hey girl, and I put that into practice. And so all of those fears kind of disappeared really quickly.
Meanwhile, my 6-year-old's outside the caravan banging on the door. I need to go to the toilet. I'm going to ignore her because we're actually parked and my husband can sort it out. Welcome to real life 101. Authenticity 101.
Authenticity, yeah, real life as a mom in business.
This is it. Actually, that's one of the things that I definitely want to dive into with you, because the conversation around business and babies and mum life and keeping it real, but also sacred at the same time, and having those sacred spaces for your family as well. Like, how do you create a space where you can have those pockets with your family that are just your time and not for the social world, but then bring people in? Because I remember that was I think the biggest part of what I saw in the possibility from my upline. That's what I see people doing so beautifully when they invite people into their lives. But I also know there's a line where you want to have some stuff just for you as well.
Yeah. I guess it's just about finding what you feel comfortable with, and then finding things that are going to resonate with your audience. So for me, I'm quite happy to share a lot of my personal life on Instagram, but then I'll also have times where it's really important for me to just put my phone down. But there's ways, say you're someone who maybe doesn't want to share your family on social media, you can still create those really views all over it. And it just comes down to thinking about the things that you're most passionate about, the things that happen in your real life, the conversations that you want to have, you know, with your audience, and integrating them in. And for me, I guess when I started my business, my daughter was 14 months old-ish.
Mm.
And now I've got an 18, and my daughter wasn't in childcare at all for the first 6 months. So my business started with me just working in pockets of time and just documenting parts of our days. Because I think, especially, you know, like a lot of my business was face-to-face as well, classes, but I've always had Instagram as a key component. And I think sometimes, especially when you're getting started, or maybe you're in a season of life like I am, where, you know, you don't have 8 hours to yourself a day where you can sit in the zone.
I kind of dream about that some days, but I think
like, do people even have that?
No, well, I don't know, but do you? I have this deep belief, and maybe it's a self-limiting one, that I wouldn't actually be productive with 8 hours a day.
No.
I'd faff. I'd be, you know, faffing around and thinking I'm so spacious, because that's what I did when I had a 9-to-5 job. I don't know if that was like the same thing for you, but
yeah, I honestly, I think wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even know.
No,
but
motherhood makes us, I think, really creative and really good time managers.
Yeah, it does. And it's just, I think you just can simplify it, you know. So a lot of my strategy is simply just like, you know, documenting parts of my day. And so it's not like I have to take time out of my day to share on social media. I do things that I do. And for me, you know, essential oils are integrated into literally every, you know, they're just completely integrated into our life. They're, you know, they're not separate. And so as I'm doing things, you know, maybe I'm filling up the diffuser in the morning, I can share that, and it doesn't take time out of my day. It's just me doing the things. I also think a really important thing, which I'm getting better at, because I do, like, I sometimes wish that people could just read my mind so I didn't have to communicate. That would be my ultimate, like, wish.
Yes.
To read my mind. But I've got it. My husband works away. So he's, you know, 2 weeks of every month, it is just me with the kids trying to do business. But when he's home, I try really hard just to communicate with him, you know, and that communication, and I'm literally asking what I need from him, is so powerful. And that's kind of what gives me the ability to, you know, even like right now, you know, letting him know that I had this going on.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, well, you know, I'll just shoot out with Remy for the morning. You know, they've gone to do, I don't know what they're doing, but they've just gone out. And so I've got that little pockets of space to do the things that I need to do with his support. And I was the same, you know, when you were saying about that conversation you had with your husband at the start, I did the same. Like, I'd kind of like presented it as like, so this is what I want to do. And I kind of like had all these reasons. And it wasn't because, like you said, it wasn't because I wanted permission. It was because I wanted his support.
Yes.
You know, and having that support, like, he was straight away at the start. He's like, look, I don't know about these oils and I don't know about this business model, but I believe in you. And if this is what you want to do, let's do it. And so, you know, now he's all about it. He has seen the magic, but having that support from the start has just, and, you know, even if it's not, you know, your partner, you know, I've got my parents close by that will help me occasionally when they can, or having, you know, your close friends in your community, like, if they just know what you're doing and why you're doing it, and just having that, even if it's just that emotional support, it makes such a difference to your business. There
is something really crazy around the numbers and the percentage of when you even speak a goal out loud, like the difference between achieving it versus not achieving it. And then it goes to another incredibly massive jump when you share it with the people around you for that exact reason, because you can bring in your support circle, you're manifesting it, you're speaking it into existence. And I think, you know, when we hold back from really sharing what we're up to with our friends and family, I don't think a lot of people know how detrimental it is to that point. Like they're actually feeling like they want to achieve something, but they're I feel like it's this double-edged sword to the universe, like holding out this, I want this, but also put it like I'm using my hands and just for the podcast universe. I'm gesturing with my hands, like this one-sided, like come to me with the other hand up saying no, stop, like this push and this pull. Yeah, and I think when you start to speak it out loud, just like you have experienced, most people will probably find, unless they have massively douchebag people in their lives, that there won't be a lot of backlash around it if you're showing up in an authentic, genuine way and you're not, you know, being super weird about it. So I have a question for you. Have you ever thought about quitting your business? Like, has it ever got to a point? I know that can be like an abrupt question, but I also want to normalize the question as well, because like quitting or changing, has that ever come to a point where you're like, and if yes, like what did that bounce back look like for you in terms of not just what you did, but like how did you shift perception if you've been in a place that didn't feel good to shifting your mindset back into flow and showing up again and believing in yourself, in the business, in the products, all that kind of stuff. I'll put that as a big question, and then you can cherry pick out what actually is suitable for you, because maybe you've never thought about that before. I don't know.
I think it's a really amazing question, and I love that you're normalizing this conversation, because I think, you know, within the network marketing industry, it's really, really common for people to come in and then step out, whether it's because, you know, they're following other passions, or because, you know, sometimes it's because they think, oh, this is going to be easy money, and then they realize that there's hard work involved, you know. So
yeah,
you know, there's waves, you know, in the business. I can hand on my heart say that I have never considered quitting my doTERRA business. I have many leaders who have, through different stages, and a lot of, you know, my experience is a lot of the leaders that I've worked really closely with, when it has been their time to move on to something else, it's because they've found something that lights them up so much that they're like, this is what I want to run with. And I'm like, get it, girl. Like, you know, go do your thing. But I have always been a really, really firm believer that, you know, throughout all of the waves of my business, and there's incredible highs, and then there are times where there are lulls. I am solely responsible for my business, and what my goals are and what I want to create for my business is I love when I get to do that with my team, but I don't place those expectations on them ever. I don't blame whatever's going on in my business on anyone else but me. And I guess, you know, I'm fortunate in the sense that when I started my business, I was part of a very fast moving train, which was the Alice Nichols to Presidential Diamond train of 2017 or whatever that was. And so I was really fortunate that I was hitting leadership ranks from pretty early on in my business. And there's no part of me that would ever make that swap back to what I was doing previously in my corporate jobs, because I'm at a space where I have got a consistent income, because I have shown up consistently for my business day in, day out for the past 4 years in some way. Like, it doesn't mean that I'm sitting at a desk like I am now. You know, it's the little things that you do for your business. And I've got this incredible life balance. Like, there's just no part of me that ever wants to leave this. And the experiences that I've had with this company, you know, I just can't see anywhere else in the world that I would ever get that. So for me, it's a hard no. There's definitely times where it's been more challenging in my business, or, you know, people, let's talk about dropping ranks. That happens.
Yes, let's normalize the conversation.
You know, my first 2 times hitting diamond to, and then I didn't hit diamond again for 18 months because I had to restructure my tree. And then when I did, I started hitting diamond again middle of last year and was really consistent there for a few months. I had 4 separate qualifying like silvers than what I did the first time. But I put in that time, and I was, for me, one of the most rewarding things is when you're working with the people that want to be doing it in the now. So if I, do have to go, okay, well, this person's got some really want to do in their life right now, show up with me, and they want to do things, they want to create and do all the fun stuff that lights me up. So I just go and work with them, and it's beautiful, and I've got like a motto, I don't know if that's the right word, and I don't know who I heard this from. I will not take credit for it. Someone said it once upon a time, and it has stuck in my brain, but there's no problem or issue in my business ever that can't be fixed by continuing to enroll. Like,
I've
and
heard
that's
that
what
too.
I do.
Yeah. Yes.
Whoever came up with that, thank you. I love you. And that's honestly, that's the attitude I have in my business. I also think that, the waves me and how I'm coming back into my business. But right now, like, I'm at a time with my beautiful son, Remy, who I've been able to, because of the freedom that this business has given me, I've been able to make a conscious choice to go, all right, he turns 2 in September. I don't want to send him to daycare. I don't want to put him in childcare. And so because I've made that choice, and this is a kid, I don't know if you've seen on my Instagram stories, this is like, he's Tornado Remy.
I love him.
He honestly, he's the best, but he's a lot. You turn your back on him for 2 seconds and there'll be pen all over everything you love, and something will be thrown off the balcony, and the house will be flooded. Like, it's crazy. And he doesn't like sleep very much, which is fine. But it means that the hours that I'm putting into my business right now are a lot less than they were 6 months ago, when he was having 2 naps a day and he was my sweet little boy that couldn't walk yet, And so I just ride those waves, and I have from day one, like, my vision with this business has been the long game, right? Like, I know I'm a lifer with this business. I'm here for life, and I'm continually building more abundance in my business. But those big goals that I have, and I can tell you, like, I've got huge goals, but I'm really willing at the moment to give them, like, I guess, more of a wide berth when it comes to time frame, because one of the reasons that I did choose a business model like this is because I want to be able to be with my kids. And right now, Remy needs a lot of my time and my energy, and I can give that to him. And my business keeps ticking along because I do still show up. But I've got my dad. He's retiring sometime this year. He doesn't know this yet. He reckons he's going to have all these new hobbies to take up, and his new hobbies are going to involve hanging out with Remy. So those are the times.
Yes, Dad.
When I'll have to send this podcast to Dad so that he knows. Because he hasn't learned to read my mind yet. But when that time comes, or the weeks that Matt's home, like, I can put more in, and that's fine. Like, I'm really comfortable with that, and this is where I want to be. This is what lights me up. This company is that, like, there's so much that it's given me, and it's also like the people that I've got to connect with. So now you're all stuck with me forever.
Yay. I also think, though, you seem to really hold a sense of peace during that conversation, like a sense of contentment. And I feel the same in terms of where I am within my journey with network marketing, where I'm with growing, this podcast and a few offerings that I have within the network marketing space, but not specifically within, selling a product. But I feel contentment and less hustle. And I wonder if our hearts changed so much in the last year and a half, and priorities changed, and slowing down happened, and so much shifted, like energetically in the world and ourselves, that it would be impossible to not change in some aspect, no matter where you are. And so, yeah, I really relate to that. And then the other thing that I really think was interesting when you were just really passionately saying, like, my business is my responsibility, and that ownership piece is obviously so important. And at the same time, I think where that becomes really tricky is that we do talk about collaboration and community, and I think it is sometimes hard to separate those two when you're early on in the business, don't you think? Like, because you experienced being swept up in a fast moving team, but I know that you still showed up for your own business. It's not like you just went along for the ride. But at the same time, I think that there needs to be almost more focus on the autonomy of owning your own business and the responsibility of owning your own business, and the side benefit of a community. The fact that you can be an entrepreneur when usually being an entrepreneur means like being in this silo and not having anyone around you for support or masterminding or peer communication. Whereas this business places you in a spot where you can be an entrepreneur and you can take responsibility of your own results and growth, or hanging out and having more time with your family, but at the same time have access to that support and that community. And I think that's a different conversation to what I saw even not last year, probably 2019 and before, where there was so much emphasis on community, collaboration, connection, like work as a team, and we all rise together. But that's not necessarily the truth either, because I love it when my team are ready to rise with me. Like you said, like I love it when we're all rowing together and it's like one happy team and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is that we're humans, and we have completely different timelines, goals, responsibilities, desires. And that's where so much of the frustration I see comes up with people who are rising up through the ranks. So like, I've lost a builder, or this leg isn't working, and the frustration and the kind of saying like, why can't they do this, instead of really focusing on their own responsibility of their business. And I don't know, was that something that you always held within you, that deep responsibility, or have you seen that shift as well?
Definitely, because there's so much in that I think is so important. And it's something that you see often, and I've seen it with so many people, where they lose a builder and they're just consumed by this hopelessness, like, oh, there's nothing I can do, it's done for me, I can't rebuild. And I think the first time I ranked to diamond, I ranked off one of those silvers was actually building a business, and the others, there were a few sharers and things in the mix there, but I kind of made a decision when I was going for that goal that I can either do what some people do, where they're like, got to wait till I've got 4 builders, or I can go, this is my business, these are my goals, it's okay if nobody wants to run with me right now. I'm going to run, and I'm going to do it. And, and I did, and it wasn't sustainable. Don't get me wrong. As you just heard, it took me 18 months after the first couple times to get back there, but I've got no regrets about that. I learned heaps. And so my attitude with my business has definitely always kind of been that approach. I'm really comfortable with, just focusing on my own goals, taking responsibility for them. Obviously, I love when people are aligned with my goals. when I've got, I think, when you've got someone that wants to go for silver at the same time you want to go for diamond, and you're like, yes, we're doing it together. And that creates momentum, when you're sharing those goals with your team. And I think that's, one of the things that Alice, my upline, had that just created so much energy in her team was the month that she ranked to Presidential Diamond, all 6 of us, I think bar one, were going for platinum for the first time.
Yeah.
So the energy that was within that team was like, we were everyone's biggest cheerleaders. That energy was incredible. But just because you don't have that happening doesn't mean you can't achieve all of your goals, and you can still support your team in ways that feels really good for them. And one thing that I'm really trying to learn to do better and trying to put into practice within my business is just having that communication with my team. What are your goals? Where do you want to be? How quickly do you want to get there? And what kind of accountability do you want from me? Because that way I can support them and we can create that common energy and excitement without anyone putting expectations on one another. And I think, I think that can be really important in a business model, especially like ours with doTERRA, where, it's all well and good for me to say, take responsibility for your goals. But the way that our business is set up, you do depend on legs and other people's ranks. At the end of the day, and so it's just finding ways to work with and to still take responsibility for your own business at the same time.
Yes. I actually also hear in that, like, when I have conversations like this, I feel like I'm slightly crazy, because I hear like the voices of the new people who've just joined, and then the voices of the silvers who maybe have dropped a couple of ranks and who are feeling a bit like, okay, where to from now? Because I know that there's so many different conversations and mindsets. Like every rank, every level, it comes with this new expansion of ideas and growth and And I just remember so clearly my blocks and struggles and work was so different at all stages. And I think the space for people that are coming in right now who are newbies, like, I'm so jazzed for them. I feel like, God, it would be cool to start now in some ways, because obviously applying what you already know and being able to start from the start is really cool. And so I am really excited to talk with people and mentor with people who are really new and fresh and excited. I think the most challenging place to be at is where the despair comes in of not understanding that rank dropping sometimes is normal, and making it about ourselves as opposed to normalizing the conversation and just dropping shame and dropping feelings around that, and just being able to like process the emotion and move forward. And also the kind of being able to connect with each other and understand that when you're a diamond, when you're a presidential diamond leader, there's still going to always be, I don't want to say there's always going to be continual work to do, but there's always going to be something that presents itself as a growth opportunity. And I just see so many people stopping themselves because they think, oh my God, like you said, I've lost a builder, or I haven't structured my organization correctly, and dropping into that sense of despair. Yeah, we can talk about that, because
oh my gosh, I'm laughing so much.
My organization is hilarious. Yeah. Like, so funny.
If there was a horror movie for people that did
placements on a plane,
nightmares for months. Like,
yeah,
it's horrific. I had no idea what I was doing, and
yes.
Oh my gosh, my placements were so bad. But yes. I don't, like I said, like I don't focus on that. I don't go, oh, well, if I had have structured like the perfect tree, then I'd be this, and that. There's probably so many amazing things that wouldn't have happened, for me, if I'd done things in the correct way. And all of the things that I've been able to learn in that time, I get to help my team with now. I can say, whoa, don't do what I did. I'm going to help you do this better. But it's a learning process. And I think, you know, I think here in Australia, it was like the placements thing. A lot of us, you know, just built in weird and wacky ways. But, you know, here we are. And
here we are. Yes.
It's like coming back to the long game. You know, I keep doing the things, my business keeps growing. Like consistency.
Yes.
And the more opportunity that you have to find those people who are already sitting there in your team, loving their oils, you know, and perhaps looking for something just like this. So, you know, I'll always be there showing up for my business and doing the things.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, Courtney. I love how you show up on Instagram. It's also my favorite platform. And I think part of the like beauty of you on that platform is just, inviting people into your family and your life, but also putting yourself front and center, not hiding behind recipes or products. Like I know that you are great at creating recipes and blends, and it's a potent part of what you do, but I think when people land on your page, they see you. And that's also, you know, if someone's sitting at a place in their business right now where they've dropped back in rank, or when they are feeling like what is the next step forward, I always feel like it's showing up and just allowing yourself to be seen more, and feeling weird, feeling awkward as you figure out your first reel, or maybe it's like your first time you're really consistently showing up on your stories, but you're flicking around that selfie camera and you're just giving it a go and showing people who you are, because you might have, you know, like we know, like you might have a customer in your team who just needs to see you and hear your experience and your story to actually then reach out and connect with you, or to be inspired to start their own journey. And I also love that there's people in our own downlines that are being inspired from completely other leaders other than us, the more that we show up. So I almost feel like, even though I was talking about we're responsible for our own business and taking responsibility, but I do think like it does help collectively when we're all stepping into that place of being the embodiment of our business as well. So such a beautiful thing.
So saying that with the way that I show up on social media, like I think if someone perhaps started following me right now, they'd be like, she gets on her stories, it's so easy for her. Like I'm
guessing no.
I want to be so clear on this. Talking to people and talking in front of people in any capacity is like I can't feel my body. It sends so much terror through me. And so with my Instagram, I had you know, I started my doTERRA Instagram when I started my business. So I've had it for about 4 years, and the first year and a half, or maybe closer to 2 years, you did not see my face on stories ever. Like that was a hard no from me. And I have I'm really fortunate. I've got a lot of my best friends are incredible entrepreneurs in different industries. You know, none of them are in network marketing, but they are just inspiring and ambitious, incredible business minds. And they basically forced me to talk on stories. Like,
amazing.
Do it. I didn't do it. But I knew that it was one of the best things that I could have done for my business, because, you know, what this business is really about is, you know, forming connections and relationships and storytelling, you know. And so when the first time I did it, I took about 50 takes, and they were awkward and horrible, and my hand was shaking. I don't know why I didn't think to like put my phone down, but I was.
I'm laughing not at you, by the way. I'm laughing because I echo the exact same sentiments. And
you can look at
people think that it's just, you know, like, oh, they've always just hopped on with these. No, you've got to be shit before you can feel even semi-confident.
you got to do the embarrassing stuff. And even, you know, now, like I love reels. I have so much fun with them. But if you go and scroll back to like my first couple reels, like there it was, you know, I will keep them there forever, but they are not good. Absolutely not. But you give things a go, and nobody's like, I think, you know, the other thing for me now, this is actually a huge thing with my mindset, is when I jump on to do an Instagram story now, like you won't see me do lives. That's still something that I'm overcoming. I find that really intimidating. Also, you never know when a child is going to like jump on me or rip out my
yeah. Or knock on a caravan door and say they need to do a wee. So, you know.
I'm still self-conscious, and I'm still sometimes like, you know, embarrassed, or, you know, if I hear my husband, oh my gosh, this is what kills me. If I hear him open up my stories and start playing them where I can hear my own voice, I go into like meltdown. Like I can't cope. I'm like, turn it off.
Yes.
But I'm really okay. Like the thing that I'm so comfortable with, and probably something that you can see on my Instagram, is I'm really comfortable with how imperfect it all is, you know, like
it does not look imperfect. It
well,
looks,
you know, how
fun and engaging. I would not call it imperfect.
And how I can get on and it can be a little bit awkward, or say, you know, whatever it is, I don't need to be perfect. I don't want to pretend that I'm perfect, because I think it's so important to show up as you are, who you are, authentically. So I'm okay with that now, you know, as long as I don't have to hear my own voice being played back to me. I'll get on and I'll do it. And I've got things that I want to share. And I love that since I've been able to do that, even as scary as it was, the impact that has had on the connections and the relationships that I have online is just so worth it. And even sharing, you know, sometimes I will share quite vulnerably about things, whether it's to do with, you know, things going on in motherhood or things that I'm going through in my personal life. Even though it's become, you know, it's a growing space where there is a lot of people there, it feels like such a safe space, because what I've been able to do is attract an audience that are my people. And so I can share on there, and the interactions and the conversations that I get to have with, you know, maybe it's messages of support, or maybe it's conversations with people that are going through the same thing, you know, especially like when I share things with Remy at the moment. And it's like the moms, and it's just like knowing that we are so in this together.
Yes. There ain't no hood like motherhood.
You know, I'm so glad that I did take that step and start to do things that scared the shit out of me, because like if you don't try things, you're never going to get good at them. It's even like when I was first started teaching classes at the start of my business, I wish I had recordings of them. They were so bad. And I had literally I had memorized word for word a class of Alice's, right? And I would regurgitate that and try and be Alice in the class.
Yes.
I love Alice. She's one of my best friends, but I'm not Alice. I don't talk like Alice. I'm not, you know, we have different passions in the world of oils as well, you know? And so it was a really funny transition to build that confidence in just speaking as me and sharing, because what people want at the end of the day, they want to hear your story. They want to connect with real life experiences that they're going to resonate with. And that's what they want to hear about.
Yes. Yeah. I think sometimes we do have to borrow the words before we find our own. Totally. As well. Like I remember beginning my business and I literally didn't have the words, like for whether it was sending an email to someone who had said, oh, like, what are these oils about? I was like, like what the fuck do I send? Like, tell me a 2-sentence line, because I didn't even know where to begin. And so I do honor people where the journey, and I'm pretty sure it's for 99% of us, like you do need to borrow the words, but we quickly realize that doesn't work at the same time.
And you've got to to a point where you can get started with that and you can have the support and utilize that 100% at the start. But if you want to, really bloom into your own brand and really stand out, there comes a point where you've got to start to make it all your own. And so take it and then let it evolve.
Yeah. I feel like someone used to say divorce your upline, and I feel like it's a little harsh. Maybe have a vacation from your upline. I don't know. Like a softer version feels better. This giving spaciousness where you can be friends as opposed to like codependency is, I think, what helps you to step into that space as well. I have a quick thing that I wanted to add on Instagram and what you said about your husband when he like presses stories, and just something that came to mind. And then I have some rapid fire questions for you, my love. Because I'm obsessed with Brene Brown's podcast, so I'm like, I'm just gonna infringe on some copyright. I don't know what my hair's doing, by the way. I'm gonna infringe on some copyright and just do some rapid fire like she does in hers. But so my Instagram kind of thought that popped up when you were talking about your husband looking at your stories and you cringing at that was, and also I think in the conversation we touched on that feeling like you might be judged or when you're starting out. So something that I think is really important to keep in the back of the minds of anyone who's actually listening is that you have complete control over your Instagram account. And so you don't have to block like people out of your life completely, but if you need to show up in a way that, like, if you're feeling like you're constantly diminishing who you truly are because you think someone's going to judge you, or you're just changing who you are because that person is a really strong personality, just block them temporarily or pause them or unfollow them. I remember unfollowing so many people in doTERRA because first of all, there were some people that I unfollowed because I felt like I was trying to copy them, or like I was trying to gain their approval, which, by the way, never stops if you're an approval-seeking human. Or people pleasing, which I am. And so I was almost trying to get the people pleasing from my peers rather than who really matters, which is the community that I was building, or like the connection rather than the pleasing, I should say. But then also there were people who were really loud personalities, and it would distract, like their greatness would distract me because I would get so excited about what they were doing within our industry and kind of being a massive goldfish, like getting distracted because like focus for me, I hyper focus on something and then I'll smash it out, but then I'm also really easily distractible. And so I think it's really like, especially seeing as though you and I both love Instagram, just that little note for everyone to say you have ownership over that community in that space. And also, like you're saying, you have a really safe space. If there's someone that enters in that space and they don't feel like a safe person, you can turn them away. Like, you really get to create that safe community where you can show up as yourself. And that's going to allow you to really step into, owning your business, owning your story, being on Instagram and not feeling like as much of that.
Boundaries are so important in the online space. And I think it's so common, especially when you first start your business and you go on this follow spree and you follow every single person in your industry. And I did that. And I unfollowed a lot of people. And then, there's still people that I absolutely love, some of who are great friends of mine who I have got muted. And, the comparison thing can I struggle with that often, feeling less than enough or wondering, does this person have more hours in the day than I do? Like how are they doing, all of those things. And so I find, similar to what you said, when I'm able to mute those people, it's not because I don't love them. It's not because I'm not inspired by them, but soaking up everything that they're creating, it stifles my own creativity, like when I'm not consuming what everyone else is doing, it gives me that spaciousness to create on my own and come up with ideas that are my own, instead of subconsciously just copying what you think everyone else is doing. And I think that approval thing that you said, you know, doing things for the approval of your peers instead of your you know, your customer community, instead of serving them. And I think like, I think that's so, it's a really big thing to recognize. And I know that there are times where I've done the exact same thing. And you know, it's really, really okay to create those boundaries for yourself so that you can show up for your business in the way that's going to serve you. It's funny, I was actually on a call for I did a team call for another leader a few weeks ago, and one of like her girls on the call like came on and she's like, oh yeah, I unfollowed you. And I was like good though, like
yes,
you know, but I was like, that's good. And she was like, yeah, she's like, you know, I needed to create those boundaries for herself. And I'm like, that's exactly what you need to be doing in the online space. Don't feel obligated to follow every single, like, you can, I don't know, people idea, but you can still be friends with people in real life and not have to follow every move online. That is totally okay. You have permission.
Well, don't you feel like as well, sometimes I feel more intentional if I'm not following someone or I've muted them for that very reason, but then I intentionally want to know what they're up to or intentionally want to connect. Like, to me, that's also friendship as well. Anyway, I want to do some rapid fire questions for you, because these are fun. I feel like Brene Brown probably preps her guests for her questions, but you know, I'm not as fancy as her yet, so we're just going to roll with it. So whatever comes to your head straight away. All right, number one, if you could have anyone in your downline, customer or business builder, who would you choose? Such a hard question if you have indecision issues.
Oh my God. Like anyone in the world.
Like anyone, who would you choose?
Far out. I've never considered this as a question.
I know. It's a tricky one, isn't it?
Really tricky one.
Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it.
My instinct.
Yeah.
Like, in my head, I'm like, that is not a good answer, Courtney. But my answer is Britney Spears, because the girl. I just want to help her out, and I want to talk to her. I just want to, you know.
Hashtag free Britney.
It's Britney. It's Britney, bitch.
Oh, that's the best. Oh, that's the best. I mean, think about how many oils she could sell. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And I just think, you know, they might be really nice for her to have.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. Oh, well, that's awesome. Okay. Your favorite book, or I have a million books. So like one of your favorite books that's influenced your business journey.
Big Magic. I just, you know, I think that, you know, for me, the really hard-hitting message was being able to create for the joy of it, not because I've always been one of those people that says, oh, you know, I'm not good at all of these things. I'm like, and now I can just do things because the joy of creating. And I think it's one of the best books ever written, and everyone should read it.
Oh, it's so good, isn't it? One of the things out of that book for me was also like, your creations don't always have to make you money.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, creating for the joy of it. And then sometimes like that makes you money, sometimes it doesn't, but not holding that hostage to having to make money. So good. Worst piece of network marketing advice you've ever received or heard? Come on, I want to hear some good stuff.
All right. Worst piece of advice would be basically just to cold message people. Like slide into people's inboxes unwanted, unsolicited. I just think that's the worst thing you can possibly do, and it will be the death of your business if that's your one strategy. Please don't do it. We've got way better strategies.
Yes, amazing. Okay, so I love that you mentioned the long game, because one of my rapid fire questions is if you could wrap up the legacy that you want to create, like the long game of where your network marketing business is going, whether that's the long game of network marketing or whether that's going to be a building block for a bigger legacy or a different legacy, I should say. What does that long game mean for you?
I guess there's a few things in that. It would be, from a personal level, creating just a really abundant life where my husband's home with us permanently. I get to continue to create and just have freedom. Like for me, I always say like success to me means being able to walk into like the health food store, the organic food store, and just spend as much money as I want on all of the food in there and not walk out. Like that's like,
Yes.
It's not like the cars and the house and the things, it's like just going into those stores. But I guess from like also from an outside perspective, like an impact that I really want to be able to make is to show people, because one of the things that I struggled with at the start of my business was thinking, along the lines of, I don't come from, like I don't have experience. I'm not from the wellness world. I'm not articulate. I'm not confident. I'm just a mom, all of those stories that I told myself. And I really want to be able to show women that you don't have to be a particular kind of person to be successful in this business. Like it's not for everyone, but it can be for anyone. And, like I have definitely grown so much into more of the person that I thought that I could never be way back then. But I really want women, it's like most importantly women who are, often in cycles of shitty jobs with low pay and no freedom and away from our kids and all of the things. I just want people to know that what is possible for them, no matter who they are. That's really important to me.
Yeah, beautiful. And then lastly, what does modern network marketing mean to you?
Modern network marketing for me is connection and authenticity and attracting your community, not hunting customers.
Awesome. I love it. Oh my gosh, I could chat with you all day. Do you know what? This is the Network Marketing Coffee Hour, and I didn't even have my coffee beside me, but bloody wish that I did. It's just such a breath of fresh air to connect with you. But I also feel like there's so many similarities of starting journeys and thoughts and mindset stuff that I feel like I really resonate with and really connect to in your journey. And so I'm really excited to share your words and your experience and your journey with everyone else, because the more conversations that are out there that I think anchor into these elements of, being authentic and showing up in this way, the more that we can, like you said with your legacy piece, really inspire people with the possibility of what's there, but also maybe just do this industry a little bit better every day as well. So it's been absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on, Courtney.
Oh, it was amazing. Thank you so much. I'm really, really honored to have been invited. So thank you.
Anytime. Bye, love.